Welcome to Stories of Safety, brought to you by Safety Supply Company. My name is Natalee Harrigan. I am an occupational health and safety practitioner here in Barbados, and I have with me Ms. Kerryann Branford from the Barbados Labour Department. Welcome, Kerryann. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Safety Supply Company. My name is Kerryann Branford, and I am the Senior Safety and Health Officer in the Labour Department, which is a part of the Ministry of Labour, Social Security, and Third Sector.
Kerryann, tell us about the Labour Department.
So the Labour Department aims to promote harmonious employment relations. And we have two sections, the Industrial Relations section, which a lot of persons are familiar with, and they deal with things like unfair dismissal, holidays with pay, and such like. In the Safety and Health section, we deal with occupational safety and health, which is basically trying to promote and maintain high standards of safety and health and well-being for persons while they're at work.
And you have a tool in the Labour Department to help with this purpose, the Safety and Health at Work Act. Could you tell us a bit about the Act?
All right, so the Safety and Health at Work Act is only one of the tools that we have to help promote and maintain high standards of occupational safety and health. The Act was actually proclaimed in 2013, so it came into force in 2013. We started really using it in 2013. And it would have replaced the Factories Act, which would have dealt only with factories and factory-defined operations under the Act, under the legislation. With the Safety and Health at Work Act now, we are able to do unannounced routine inspections in workplaces to ensure that the requirements of the Act are being maintained and upheld.
And what has the reception been like to the Safety and Health at Work Act?
So of course, with everything new, back when it was new, there was a teething process where we have to do a lot of promotion to get persons to understand what the Act entailed and what it was asking for. As time went by, we find that more people are getting accustomed to the legislation, and with the age of technology, it is widely available to everyone. So everyone is more aware now of their rights and responsibilities under the Safety and Health at Work Act, and we're finding that more persons are opening up and they're aware of what is required.
Yeah, and I've found that there's a common misconception that the Act favors the employee. Would you like to comment on that?
Well, the Act has roles for both the employer and the employee, so everybody has rights and responsibilities under the Act.
Could you expand a bit more on the rights and responsibilities?
Sure. So the employer, who is ultimately responsible for everything that occurs in his workplace, he has, say, the responsibility to provide a safe place of work for persons. He also has the responsibility to ensure that the tools that persons use and the methods that they use to get their work done is done in a safe manner. All right? That's just a few examples. For the employee, the employees have to ensure that they don't do anything that will cause harm to themselves or any other person that is in the work environment, right? The employee is also supposed to bring any unsafe conditions or breaches of the legislation, anything that they see that goes against what the legislation requires, they are to make that known to the employer, right? So those are just some of the ways that both the employer and the employee have responsibilities under the Act. Also, can't forget, the employer also has responsibility for everyone that comes onto the premises. So visitors, contractors, anyone who's on the property, the employer has to ensure that that person is safe.
And it's great that the Labour Department is supporting consultation. At times, employers do think it is a bit of a hassle to involve the employees. It's going to make the process take longer. But actually, it can increase productivity because when you have workers feeling involved and feeling valued, they tend to work better for the company and be more innovative. So that's just a pitch to you employers in case you're thinking that it's a bit problematic, it's a waste of time, it's a strain on resources financially. It actually is proven to increase productivity in your organizations.
So we actually do agree, because the person that is on the floor every day working with particular pieces of equipment, particular chemicals or substances, is the employee. So he or she is most likely the first person to see when something is wrong with it. And there should be that open communication in any workplace where the employee can let their supervisor know or let the employer know, hey, this is an issue, this is what we have found, which is their responsibility under the Act, as we said before, to highlight these breaches and these unsafe conditions. And then have that communication where the employer and the employee or the representatives can sit together and discuss, okay, how can we fix this? And you'll more likely find practical solutions because the persons that actually deal with the issue or deal with the machinery every day, they're able to give their input and say, hey, well, since I work with it, this is what I think would be best. So having the different perspectives come together to create a solution, in the long run, it would save everybody time, money, effort, everything, right? So yes, I agree, or we agree that having a safety committee is vital for that communication and that transfer of knowledge. So when you're on the committee, there's a transfer of knowledge that occurs. As I said before, you're seeing things from different angles and different perspectives. You are available for training. You're able to be trained in certain aspects of safety and health. So it opens your eyes to other things in the workplace that you might be taking for granted. Your opinions, as you said before, are valued. And employees feel so good to know that their recommendations have been implemented, right? So if I implement something or I made a suggestion for something to be implemented in the workplace and I see it happen, I'm going to try to get my colleagues to jump in and say, hey, well, this is a good idea because it was my idea. So, let's work to get it to actually work.
And that buying, that energy, it follows over into not only health and safety issues, but in terms of finding solutions for the workplace to run smoothly in general.
Yep.
I just want to emphasize this point because many times health and safety is pitted against productivity as though it is the enemy of productivity, but really we're partners moving hand in hand.
And we see that a lot when accidents occur, right? So many times when persons are working, they might try to find a shortcut, a faster way to get things done because they want production to continue. They don't want any stick-ups or anything like that. So they take a shortcut, and many times it results in an accident. And when you look back on it and you really stop and think, the time that it takes to investigate an accident, to deal with the injured person after the accident has occurred, especially if it's a serious injury, it's much longer than maybe the couple minutes it would have taken to
do the
correct thing.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to put things in perspective like that a lot of the time. And that's what safety and health is about.
Of course. It's important for the employers to realize the cost of ill health and the cost of accidents. Outside of the investigation time, the lost time on the particular day that Ms. Branford mentioned, there's also the loss of morale, which will slow people down. There's also the damage to reputation, the loss of business, potential loss of contracts. And it's often said if you fail to prepare, you should prepare to fail. Risk assessments can be a very important tool when it comes to preparation. And there's often a lot of pushback in terms of the time it takes to do the risk assessment. But we were just talking about accidents. And I'm sure from the Labour Department's perspective, you can advocate for the importance of risk assessments.
Yeah, risk assessments are very important in preventing accidents. So for those who might not understand what a risk assessment is, that's basically when you look at the task that you're supposed to do, or the equipment or the substance or chemical that you're supposed to use, and try to see what in that task or what with that equipment can cause harm or cause somebody to be injured. And pre-planning, you put measures in place before you actually start the task or before you actually start using the equipment or the substance to prevent the injury from occurring, for preventing the accident from occurring, right? So it takes a lot of proactive thinking. It's a very proactive approach, and it takes planning. And of course, it takes time to plan. But in the long run, as we said, the cost associated with an accident occurring can be much greater, right, if you don't do this planning. So conducting risk assessments is something that is mandated, once again, in the Safety and Health at Work Act. And it must be done on a number of occasions when there's a new piece of machinery or a new equipment or a new process that's being introduced into the workplace. If you have someone from what we would consider the vulnerable group working there, starting to work, if you're changing a process, many different reasons why you would conduct a risk assessment. And sometimes for jobs that we're accustomed doing, it might be necessary to conduct a risk assessment, right? So yeah, it's very important in the planning stages to do this, to identify any hazards or anything that can cause harm and put measures in place beforehand to prevent it from happening. It helps your work go much smoother.
You may find it interesting that I'm putting in a picture of productivity again. I've realized in working that when you go through the process of risk assessment, you sort out a lot of logistical issues and you can avoid delays that then have a financial impact on the company. So safety and productivity, safety and financial benefits, they do go hand in hand.
Yes, it's an investment. Safety is definitely an investment.
Thank you for being here, Kerryann, and sharing the work of the Labor Department. This has been an episode of Stories of Safety with Safety Supply Company. Thank you for watching.